This week in Square Up with GraySquare.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Square Up with GraySquare. Today we are hanging out with Mr. Andrew Baugher, one of our newer team members here. It's rare that on these things we get to spend time with one of our own. We usually hang out with great people in other industries and other businesses, but this guy's come in here, done some damage, made an impact on the business, so we wanted to hang out with him for a little bit. Andrew, what's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. I'm glad I can be here.
Yeah, thanks for doing this thing, man. He actually comes in on his day off to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Props to you.
Always try to get a little bit more influence into the business, so.
There you go, man. Good stuff.
Any chance I get.
Yeah, man. So what I was hopeful for this conversation was a couple things, man. I want to introduce you to the masses, so to say, to the people that listen to this thing. Find out some insight from you, some best practices, and we'll see where it goes, man. So tell us a little about yourself and how you landed in a place like this.
Well, honestly, from the beginning, grown up and born and raised up in northeastern Ohio, small little farm country, population 500.
Is it really?
Yeah, like
499 since you left.
Yeah, I graduated with like 50, 60 kids. That's it.
No kidding.
So I came from a very low population area, and then my dad always worked crazy hours. My mom worked a couple jobs.
Yeah.
They wanted the best opportunity for me. So my dad wanted me to go to college. My mom wanted me to go to college. I was the first one in my immediate family to actually go. So I went to Cal U up in California, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's like
an
hour south of Pittsburgh.
How far was that from home?
From home, it was about 3 hours from Ohio.
That's a good distance.
It's a good distance. It was enough to get away. I wanted to get out of Ohio.
But go home when you need to.
Go home. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Weather a little bit warmer, so that was nice. No, but I went there. Went to Cal U. Graduated with communication studies with a bachelor's, and then I had a little bit of marketing experience going into college. But I worked a lot of hours to kind of not have to have the debt coming out of it. I worked at UPS for 2 years going into my senior year of college. When I graduated, actually, they promoted me. So I applied for getting a supervisor position job there. So in May of 2019, I literally took 1 week of vacation time that I accumulated there so I can do my finals to graduate. And then Thursday of my graduation, pending on Saturday, they called me up and said, "Hey, you want the job?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take the opportunity. A little bit better pay and stuff like that." So,
what were you doing there? I've always heard that's a good company to work for. Like
it is. It offers a great opportunity and growth. So when I was there, I did package handling. So I was the one unloading trailers that backed up into our hub and unloading packages, and then I got to the sort aisle to where I was like sorting them to go to the different new locations that they're going to. So those are the two jobs that I maintained there when I was doing like the grunt work.
Yeah.
And then when I got promoted, they actually had me running the outbound, which is, where the packages would go to. We'd pack them up into the new trucks and then they'd be sent out. So I managed that for like a good solid 3 weeks. And then they had an opening back up into the sort aisle, so I took that job.
Yeah.
What I did there is basically managed a small group of teams, so like 7 to 15 guys, varied throughout the day, and I would basically just make sure they were doing their jobs correctly. I was like quality control almost for them. And when I was doing quality control, I was also doing the grunt work too, making sure everything was running smoothly. New people would come in every single day, and I would be the one training them.
Yeah.
I'd be the one developing them. I was probably one of the better supervisors there because I took the job really seriously because I was new and didn't want to get demoted.
You didn't want to get fired.
Yeah, so that's what I did.
Right.
I did that for a good solid 5 months.
Okay.
And that's when I started talking to this girl, Allison. Shout out to you because I know you
Shout
listen
out to
to
Allison. We love you.
So when I started talking to her, she lived in Philly.
Okay.
And I was in New Stanton at the time, so like 4 hours away from Philly.
Yeah.
And started talking to her, and we got serious, and I started coming out and visiting her. She came out and visited me. But when I came out and visited, I fell in love with Philly. Absolutely fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
great location. Went saw the sites. A lot of people are like, Philadelphia, why would you?
Sure.
It's really nice here.
Philly's great, man. I love Philly. Like,
great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided, on the whim that I was going to try finding a job. And she kind of like opened up my mindset that like, you graduated, you're doing this part-time job as a supervisor, putting in all this effort with hardly as much return as you wanted.
Yeah.
And I said, you're right. So I started just getting on Handshake, different platforms, and start putting out my resume to different locations. And GraySquare is the one that hit me up first. And I talked to you for our first interview. It was a FaceTime.
Yep.
And I was just sitting in my mom's cabin where I lived in small town of Rockwood.
Right.
Population 300.
You're not gonna believe it. I still remember that. I remember like the background,
just
like, being in like the cabin setup.
Just the cabin, the massive, like not
Yep.
really massive, but the opening area
Oh, yeah.
of our living room. Yeah.
Yep.
My mom was in the back room listening in. I told her, don't come out.
Right.
But no, so you gave me the kind of general scheme and concept of what you guys do, and I liked it, and that's basically what I went to college for, and what I was basically molding myself to do. I just didn't know I was molding myself for this. Yeah. And so yeah, you liked me, and then we got the second interview, and I scheduled it literally on my birthday.
That's
so
awesome.
It was like
That's
October 21st. That was like Monday. Had to work that night, but I came out for the weekend to come visit, and then got my interview early morning.
Who did you hang out with for the second interview?
Pedro. It was actually Pedro. So I was under the impression that I was supposed to be interviewing with Dew. Okay. And when I came in early because I wanted to make sure I was here on time, and I wanted to make sure I found the location because so it's following the map. So my interview was apparently scheduled for like 9:30. Yeah. And I got here at 8:45. Yep. And I was like, dude, I'm here. Yeah. Sent him a text message, a call, and he sent Pedro out. And me not knowing what Dew really looked like, other than like the whatever's on the website. I got Dew, some Asian dude, some Asian guy, and then out came Pedro, the Mexican guy, and I was like, is this Dew? Like, what is going on? Like, I thought I was interviewing. No, but so he took me down to the meeting. Pedro gave me the scheme of it and the general day-to-day operations, what the pay was going to be like. Yeah. And for a kid that was living 4 hours away with hardly any money really in my bank account. Yeah. To take this job was like me putting all my eggs into a basket and saying I have to be successful. Yeah. And for a straight commission job with hardly any money to a new location that I absolutely know nothing about because I've never lived in Philly, never even came out here except for like the 3 times that I came and visited that I fell in love with it. Sure. I said, I like what you guys are doing. I like the general concept. I like the growth because of the job I'm at now. It doesn't have any growth. I like the fact that if I'm recruiting and training, that I'm getting compensated for it. Yeah, yeah. Which is something that I've never gotten UPS. Sure. And it's a full-time job with, the possibility of benefits and possibility of major growth. And the thing that hooked me was he said, I'm not looking for someone to hire to just fill a job position for sales. I'm looking for someone who's going to be business partner. Yeah. And that's what struck. I said, that's something I can get behind. And
that's awesome, man. Like, I feel like when you have to take a little bit of a risk, when you have to put yourself out there a little bit, you get the pressure. Yeah. Which people go one of two ways. They either crack under that or they just perform. Mm-hmm. And it forces you to one or the other pretty quick.
Yeah. One of the things that Pedro told me, there's 2 things that people are scared of the most. One is public speaking. Sure. And the second one is moving. And public speaking was a fear of mine in high school. And I literally took a major in communication studies for speech communication to be a public speaker because I wanted to tackle that fear head on. Yeah. And then moving was like usual for me because in high school I moved to 2 different locations. So where I grew up was like this small town in North Bloomfield. Like small population. Like my graduating class, if I didn't move schools going into high school, was 24. like that's how small we're talking here. Right. So moving wasn't an issue for me because I moved from Ohio, different locations. When I went to college, I moved to a whole new place I absolutely knew nobody in college. Yeah. And from there, I'm looking for a job in Philadelphia where I know I'm only going to know a very small amount of people.
Yeah.
And I said, it has to be a company that I think I could do well in.
Yeah.
And commission's a lot of things that, like, what a lot of people are scared of is like straight commission.
Sure.
You have nothing solid to be found on. But then the big thing is when it comes to commission, it's also based off of your product, your production.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there's one thing I was going to bet on, it was myself.
Yeah.
That was a guarantee. I knew that if I'm taking a job and it was based off of merit and based off of your own performance and your work ethic that he laid out in front of me, I said, yeah, I got this. I got this. So he showed me the growth, showed me the opportunity, and I took it. So literally my second interview was October 21st. I accepted it that day and put in I went 4 hours back because I worked night shift at UPS. I went into work that same day after doing the interview, driving 4 hours. I literally left here, got home, changed, and went to work.
Yeah.
And put in my 2 weeks notification. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, just tried finding a place, didn't. Just ended up rooming with my girl, and you know, here I am 3 months later. You know?
Right. That's great, man.
But you know, I bet on myself, and it was a good bet.
So. That's awesome, man. It always is if you're a winner. So I wanted to ask you about. So you came into UPS, and in what seems like a pretty short amount of time for a bigger company, you made enough of an impact to get offered, you know, a step up the ladder. You came here, and probably 2 months in, maybe 6 weeks in, got on my radar, which, you know, is not nothing. That's something. What if I'm out there in the world, I'm going into a new company of any kind. How do I make that type of impact? Like, what do you think you did differently than other people at both of those jobs to, you know, get on the radar of people that, you know, make decisions and can help you out?
There's a couple things. So the first one is my motivation. I knew for me it was like I'm putting my eggs in this basket, like I said, and I knew when I came out here it was all or nothing. So for me, being my best version is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
If you're at a certain point in a job and you want to be somewhere else, you got to look at yourself and say, what can I do better? And you said I was on your radar in 6 weeks. I'd probably say 4 weeks in, I had this view of myself that I was doing good, but I wasn't good enough.
Sure.
And I remember, I forget who it was, but there was a specific meeting that we had where we talked about if you're not at a certain location, stop looking at excuses of the things around you because you can't control those. Yeah. What you can control is what you do.
Sure.
And I took that to heart and I said, if I'm not where I want to be, then there's something I have to change. So I stopped making excuses at a larger scale, and I started looking more in depthly to me of like, if there's something I could do better, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So one thing is just having the humility to say, you're not perfect, and you got to realize that, and you got to change to get as close to perfection as you can. The second thing is you can't look at the people who are next to you. You got to look at the people above you. So I think it was either Cannell, Pedro, one of those four.
Yeah.
But all of them preach it. It's if you're in a position you are, but you're trying to be somewhere else, don't look at the people next to you. Look at the people above you and see what they're doing. So I started looking at Dew. I started looking at Lena, Cannell, Pedro, and I started seeing their antics, their tics, their daily rituals that they do. And I looked at myself and said, oh, I'm not doing that, so let's start doing it. And when you start building that habit of making yourself the person that you're striving to be, you're striving to beat, not even be, because you're going to be your own personal self, which is my third advice. You got to start getting into better habits.
I think that's a good point, man. I heard this, one of those things on the internet that you don't know if is true or not, but sounds cool. Like, you never make, 10, 20, whatever % more or less than the 10 people you surround yourselves with. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things like, who knows if it's true or not? I don't have any data to prove that, but it sounds good. It sounds like, you are a product of your own environment. And it seems like what you did at probably both of these places was try to emulate people that are in a position you want to be in so that you can, propel yourself to the same type of spot. So to kind of simplify that for somebody coming into like a new company, it's stay around the people that are relevant and that are in a position you want to be in, and just constantly strive for perfection as opposed to what you can get away with. Like that middle ground. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's very fair. Because you're almost like it's a rat race almost.
Yeah, yeah.
You have like
with any job.
Yeah, with any job. You're in there with 5, 6, 7 people. You're all in the same position. It's about growth.
Yeah.
So don't be better than, like, you could be better than the people that are next to you for sure. But the thing is though, you're always going to be looking at them as your competition.
Yeah.
If you do that. What I'm doing is, if there is a growth in the company, then the next person I have to beat, I'm not in first place then. There's another person ahead of me.
Sure.
So that's the person I have to chase. That's the person I have to be like and better. Do what they're doing but better. With my own style, my own personality. So that's what I would say is you got to have humility to know that whatever you're doing, you can do something better. You got to start looking and chasing the people who are above you, not next to you.
Yeah. And
you just have to put in the work and the habits to make it a usual thing.
Yeah. No, that's a bunch of solid points, man. So you're probably around, as you mentioned, like the 3-month mark, the 90 days in.
Yeah.
It's an interesting place to be because you're kind of feeling things out, learning about the business, and kind of figuring out how things work. What would you say? Like you had the goal of coming into a place where you knew you could grow, and you knew you could do something. What do you feel like your thoughts are on that at this point? Like, what is your general assessment of the business and where you feel like you could place yourself within it?
Within the business, like I said, when Pedro hired me in, I'm hiring someone to be a business partner, not just to pick a position.
Yeah.
So when I first started the position, I started looking at the position as a whole. Like, I'm going to be doing sales, straight commission. I got to make my quotas. I got to make that. I started looking at it as like a number game almost. And then I kind of took like a back burner on I'm a business partner. So now my perspective probably changed in the last month and a half. That sales is going to be a given if you trust the process. So what is it that you're striving for? So I started looking at it as my job that I want to be at is, I want to run my own office. I want to do what Do and Lean are doing.
Right.
I want to strive for that. So I'm now at the position where, like, I trust that if I do my due diligence in my sales, now I have to learn the management side of it.
Sure.
I mean, it is a management training program. It's not a sales program. It's
sure.
The first 2 levels is sales. Past that, it's really learning the business and learning the management part of it. So now, where I would put myself in the mindset of, like, I want to be a manager, and I want to strive for that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. So let's talk about the sales piece of it for a little bit, because any entrepreneur, you could argue that any entrepreneur or relevant person in business is selling in some capacity, whether you're selling your idea to investors, you're selling your value to some boss that you're trying to get more money out of, whatever, you're selling something. Your first couple months have been heavily involved in sales, and you perform well at it. If I'm going into a career in sales, let's not look at the upside. Let's just look at, like, I want to be a career salesman, right? For somebody that's come into it and has done well, what's your advice to people about best practices in selling stuff, whatever that could be?
There's a couple things, I guess. Yeah. The biggest one is whatever you're selling, you got to just full on believe it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Tim says this all the time. It's the Kool-Aid.
Sure.
You got to drink your own Kool-Aid. You got to sell the Kool-Aid, and you got to care for the people who are just drinking your Kool-Aid. Like, I'm pretty sure he says that all the time. But that's the biggest thing is, like, if you're going to be selling a product, then you got to know that it's the best thing ever. And you got to believe that. And I firmly believe that. So
sure.
No matter what you're selling, what business you're selling it for, like, you just got to know the product that you're selling is great. And no matter what, it's going to outbeat whoever you're selling it to. Sure. Like, if someone's talking to you, there's a reason why. There's a reason for someone talking to you. There's a reason they're interested in switching their products.
Right.
It's finding out that why and then just pressing on it. For like the campaign that I'm working on, Verizon.
Yeah.
I can beat my competitors on price and quality. If not price, I can definitely beat them on quality for sure. And if not, I mean, quality is a given, but pricing, a lot of people will switch on impulse based off pricing. Not everybody you're going to beat the price. So you got to look at what else can you beat them on. Quality for sure. I mean, with our product, it's quality.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that our quality is better, so why not pitch it and sell it, you know?
Sure.
So that's the big thing. The other thing is you got to believe in laws of averages.
Yeah.
You got to, if you're at one stationary point and you're on averagely doing X amount.
It's the same thing if you're banging the phones all day.
Exactly.
You know?
If you're on this amount, but you're not where you want to be, keep on going and boost up your numbers. Like,
sure.
That's generally how it works.
I think that's what most people, the people that shy away from a career in sales, that's the biggest reason why, is the comprehension that it is a numbers game. More so, I would think, than a skill game.
Oh, for sure.
It's, you know, the skill is going to make you a top performer and a lot of money in sales. To survive and to do, you know, well for yourself, you have to understand it's a numbers game. Whether you're, you know, if you're in telemarketing or inside sales, I mean, I remember I had this job. I don't want to shout out the company, but I had this job. I was doing inside sales, and the average person in the office made like, you know, 80 grand, right, with their base and salary or base and commission, whatever. Then there was this one girl. She actually lives in Philly. She made like 250 grand a year. Would just refuse to promotion to manager. She's like, nope, I'm good. Because she'd make less money as a manager than she would as a salesperson. And so the question that everybody had is like, why is she making 3x what everybody else is making? And you could see why. It was an open floor concept, right? Like this girl sat, if I'm sitting here, she sat across the table from me, more or less, like, you know, 20 feet away. And you knew the answer every day. You would hear her sales presentation or pitch. It wasn't mind-blowing. You weren't blown away by the sales finesse that she was using. It was that when the reports came out every day, there was, you know, everybody made 50 calls, you know, that day, plus or minus 10. She made 150. Like, and whenever you would ask either her or the people in leadership in the company, why does this girl make 3 times more than everybody else? They were like, well, she just works harder. And you always hate that that's the answer. From like, because, you know, anybody in sales, you want like the secret sauce. You want the one-liner. You want that closing statement that really, you know, gets them hooked. And the unfortunate thing is that the answer in 9 times out of 10 is numbers. You have to work hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's a boring reality.
I mean, it's truth though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care where you are. If you got Susie and Jim here, and Jim's, you know, a stud and has like that charm and perfection, but he only does, you know, 10 calls, and then you got Susie, who's, you know, she's that average Joe, and she just knows that her level of charisma isn't where Jim's at, but she does 5 times more calls than he does. Of course, I mean, it's literally a numbers game.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
That's a good point, man. So, what will we see? You know, in a perfect scenario for accountability, so I can call you out at the end of the year. What will we see from Andrew in 2020? What are you hoping to pull off? You know, your first year in an industry like this and in the company.
Management level.
Okay.
It's not an if, it's a when.
Big facts right there.
Yeah, literally.
Heavy confidence.
I'm already been promoted twice. I'm hoping in the next, not hoping, I'm pushing. In the next 2-3 months, I'll be promoted once again. And then from then, it's just maintaining and learning beyond. And hopefully by December, November time, I'll be at that stage where I'm going to be management.
The man is setting a high bar. I love it. So is there anything, and you can be, transparent on this. We're very open on these podcasts about like clients we work with and things that we're doing. Like we don't really have any trade secrets that we keep from this thing. Is there a program you want to do, a place you want to go, a lane you want to be in? Is there anything that we've talked about that seems like, man, this is the thing I want to manage, or the place that I want to manage? You know what I mean?
I'm like the oddball out of everybody. Everybody wants that warm weather beach, Florida or some. I'm not. No, that's not me.
Okay.
If I could open an office in Maine, I'd do it. Okay. Give me cold. Give me the wet. I love it here. I'm not gonna lie. I moved out here for a reason. I'm hoping to stay in the Philly area, Philly, Jersey side of it. I'm planning on staying here.
Okay. Nice.
I love the location. I love everything about
here, or
Philly.
like just northeast.
Northeast
like
in general. I mean, I grew up in Ohio. I grew up in Pittsburgh area,
Mm-hmm.
but this is like a new level for me, and I absolutely love this area, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
It offered me a new perspective. It offered me growth. It offered me a life that I'm looking forward to, a life that I dreamed about, and now I'm making a reality. So I want to stay around here.
Nice.
Philly is definitely it for me.
Nice. That's one thing I've liked about the industry is that if you make it, you do well, you move up the ladder. There's a lot of opportunities to either grow where you're planted or to go somewhere else. There's people like Jay, whoever that they want to kind of stay in home base, and there's a load of opportunities and ways that they could do that, and that's going to be the case for a long time till we just run out of stuff to do in Philly. I think we have room for probably 10 management promotions just within this market. So there's more than enough room considering we have like 2. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that like you're able to bounce around if you want to for those type of people. Like I was that way. Like when I got out of school, I grew up in Nashville, in the great state of Tennessee, moved to Kentucky, moved to, then up here to chase this round. And I've always been the guy that's like, if I'll take an extra, 50 cents an hour, hypothetically, if it's somewhere else. Like I'll go wherever. Like if they want me to move to Maine, because Maine's where all the money is, that's the last place. I don't want to go to Maine. I want to be in the warm weather. But for a little more cash, what's another year to me to go live someplace? I don't want to make fun of Maine because I don't know anybody there. I feel like if I start hating on Maine, I'll start getting trolled on the internet by homeboy from earlier.
But no, honestly, like I'd have to say I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
For me,
that's awesome.
I love the location. I'd stay here as long as I can be financially stable and still grow.
Yeah, I
would stay.
Yeah, and I think another, you can get your travel bug out by the beach though.
In Ohio, I was like northeastern. I'm right next to like 40 minutes out from Lake Erie, so we get the chills from the lake. Like the lake effects is real out there. That's different. I call it like over in Philly. I don't think we had like a harsh snow at all. Like maybe a drizzle here, but it's been green. Mm-hmm. I call in my folks on occasions like once, twice a month, twice a week, not a month. Ooh, twice a week. And I call my mom, I call my dad, and my dad's like, "Oh yeah, I'm plowing the driveway." Yeah. And my mom's like, "Yeah, we got a couple feet out here." And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's green over here." So like for me, this it's nice.
I don't envy that at all. I almost moved to Cleveland. I was in Louisville with Tim. We opened our first office in Louisville, and then we had like 1 or 2 projects we were debating on like expanding to. Cleveland was the most attractive in terms of like the client, the product, the offering, whatever. So I was fully set. We like looked at apartments. Like I was fully set to move from Louisville to Cleveland. And then, sort of a last minute, we got the rug pulled out from under us and ended up going to, maybe that was from Nashville to Louisville or Louisville. I don't remember. I'm old. I can't keep up with any of this. But other than that, I've never lived in that part of the country. I can't handle that.
Yeah, the weather in Cleveland, I can tell you, is similar to where I grew up and is not good.
Brutal.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, you get some snow days, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Too much. Well, this has been good, man. I think we can kind of wrap here. So we'll post. Andrew's actually wrote a pretty kick-ass blog post for us not too long ago. We'll share that on the on the comments or wherever we share things. So you can find that as well. But Andrew, man, thanks for doing this, and we'll do this again soon, man.
Oh, of course.
Thanks for hanging out, man. Yeah. And thanks everybody for listening. We'll do this again sometime. All right, later.
Later.